Hi, third graders. Welcome to your second reading lesson for the week, where we are trying to identify important ideas. And remember that when we're identifying important ideas in fiction or poetry or drama, we call that a theme. So we're looking for themes in the story. But I'll call it both a theme and an important idea throughout the lesson. So I'm really excited to read this book with you. I just read it for the first time. It's called Solway by Lupita Nyong'o and illustrated by Vashti Harrison. And there are some really important ideas in this story. So it'll be really interesting to think about those important ideas with you and then to try to figure out which of those important ideas is the most important idea in the story. So I'm going to do something a little different for this read aloud. For the last read aloud, The Day You Begin, we just kind of talked about our ideas and remembered them in our heads. And at the end of the story, I had you comment on which one you thought was the most important. And this time, I'm actually going to write down some of the important ideas that I identify. And I still want you to be thinking of important ideas also. And then at the end of the story, you can choose one of your important ideas, or you can choose from the list that I'm writing down as I'm reading you the story. Because there are just so many in this one, I want to make sure we can remember it. Okay, Solway. Solway was born the color of midnight. She looked nothing like her family, not even a little, not even at all. Mama was the color of dawn, Baba the color of dusk, and Mick, her sister, was the color of high noon. Hardly anyone at school looked like Solway either. People gave her sister, Mick, pet names like Sunshine and Ray and Beauty. People gave Solway names like Blackie and Darky and Night. Solway felt hurt every time. So she hid away while her sister made lots of friends. Solway dreamed of being the same color as her sister. She wanted real friends too. So just stop for a moment here. We're not going to think about important ideas yet, but think to yourself, what's happened in the story so far? And I was thinking what's happened in the story so far is we have found out that Solway has very, very dark skin, and she doesn't feel that she looks like anybody else in her family. And I can infer that she feels really bad about that, she's kind of jealous of her sister who has lots of friends and who people say is really beautiful. And people don't say that about Solway, and she feels very left out and lonely. So she got the biggest eraser she could find and tried to rub off a layer or two of her darkness. That hurt. She crept into Mama's room and helped herself to her makeup. Oh no, she would hear about this from Mama. Solway decided to work from the inside out and ate only the lightest, brightest foods. With a stomachache, she went to bed early and turned to God for a miracle. Dear Lord, why do I look like midnight when my mother looks like dawn? Please make me as fair as the parents I'm from. I want to be beautiful, not just to pretend. I want to have daylight. I want to have friends. If you hear me, my Lord, and would like to comply, may I wake up as bright as the sun in the sky. Amen. When Mama came in to wake her for school the next morning, Solway rose to find not a trace of daylight in her midnight skin. Solway told Mama everything. So let's stop for a moment again. What has happened in the part of the story that I just read? Just think to yourself. I was thinking what's happened in the story so far, in the part I just read, is that Solway tries all these different ways to change how she looks, and none of them work. And she just still feels really sad with how she looks. So I'm wondering now, I'd like you to wonder also, what is an important idea from the part of the story that we've read so far? So just stop and think to yourself. An important idea from the part we just read is. Okay, and I don't know what you were thinking. I wish I did. But I was thinking an important idea from the part we just read is can be really hard if you don't like a part of yourself. It just can be really, really hard. So I'm going to write that down. I'm wondering if you had the same important idea or maybe you had a different one. Okay, so I added 2 important ideas from Solway. It can be really hard when you don't like how you are. Keep reading. Oh, I'm just going to reread the last part of the last page. Solway told Mama everything. Mama asked, "What is your name?" "Solway," she muttered. "And what does it mean?" "Star," Solway whispered. "Brightness is not in your skin, my love. Brightness is just who you are. As for beauty," Mama said, rubbing Solway's stomach the way she always did to comfort her, "you are beautiful." Solway sighed. "Well, you are beautiful to me, but you can't rely on what you look like to make you feel beautiful, my sweet. Real beauty comes from your mind and your heart. It begins with how you see yourself, not how others see you. Now, up you get and out you go." How could she, as dark as she was, have brightness in her? How could she have beauty when no one but her mother seemed to see it? How could she be a star? That night, a shooting star appeared at Solway's window. "The night sent me," the star said. "Come with me." Solway hopped onto the star, and off they went. So in this next part of the story, we're going to hear a different story from Solway's story. We're going to hear a story that the star shows to Solway. And it's kind of a mythical story, like it's a little bit magical, and it seems like it's maybe a story from long ago. But it's about kind of different characters, and the star is telling and showing this story to Solway. Solway hopped onto the star, and off they went. "Long ago, at the beginning of time," said the star, "there was night and day, and they were sisters. They loved each other very much. They loved each other very much, but people didn't treat the sisters the same. People gave Day pet names like lovely and nice and pretty. People gave Night names like scary and bad and ugly. She felt hurt every time. Well, Night got fed up and walked right off the earth. Day stayed behind and enjoyed making everybody happy in the sun. But then Day grew too long. Day began to really miss her sister. So did everybody else. There had to be a way to get her back. Day set off to find Night, and she did. "I miss you," said Day. "I miss you too," said Night, "but you don't know what it's like to be treated badly for being dark." "You're right, I don't," Day replied, "but what I do know is that we need you just the way you are. Come and see." So I'm going to stop again here. Kind of a lot has happened. So I'm going to stop and ask you to think again, what's happening in the part of the story that we're reading right now? Stop and think to yourself, what's happened in the part of the story that we just read? And I think what's happened is kind of a lot again. But Solway has been carried off by a star, and the star is telling her this legend about two sisters, Day and Night, and how Day was told that she was beautiful and good, and Night was told that she was ugly and bad, and so Night left. And then eventually Day really missed Night, so she went to find her and to try to convince her to come back. And Night is not so sure because she doesn't want to be made to feel badly. And Day is trying to say, but we need you the way you are. We like you the way you are. Come and see. So this might be really tricky, but I would like you to stop and think, what is an important idea from the part of the story we just read? Go ahead and say it out loud, say it to somebody else, or say it to an invisible person. An important idea from the part we just read is, okay, so I was thinking an important idea from the part we just read is there's good and beauty in all the different ways of looking, right? Like there's good and beauty in day, and there's good and beauty in night. And when we put too much importance on one of those types of beauty, it can make the other type of beauty feel really horrible. So maybe that's two important ideas. Maybe one important idea is there's good and beauty in all different types of ways of being and looking. And maybe another important idea is when we make one type of beauty too important, it can make the other type of beauty or the other thing feel really bad. Okay, so I'm going to pause my video for a minute and write those two things down, and I'll show you the list once I've written them down. Okay, so here's what I added to our list. There are many different ways of being beautiful, and when people make one type of beauty too important, it leaves other types of beauty out. That one's kind of complicated and tricky, but I do think it's important to think about. Okay, so let's keep reading. You're right, I don't, Day replied, but what I do know is that we need you just the way you are. Come and see. Night returned, and the people rejoiced. We need the darkest night to get the deepest rest. We need you so that we can grow and dream and keep our secrets to ourselves. The stars chimed in, brightness isn't just for daylight. Light comes in all colors, and some light can only be seen in the dark. While day had a golden glow, with night everything had a silver sheen, elegant and fine. Day told her sister, when you are darkest is when you are most beautiful. It's when you are most you. That reminds me of what Solway's mom was telling her earlier on in the book. Could it be that night did not need to change? Not even a little? Not even at all? Now that night and day were back together, a little bit of night returned to day in the form of shadows, and a little bit of day returned to night in the form of moonlight. They were inseparable from that moment on and promised to celebrate the brightness in each other, whether people chose to see it or not. You see, the star explained, we need them both on their sunniest day and their darkest night, and every shade in between. Together, they make the world we know, light and dark, strong and beautiful. Okay, I'm going to pause for a minute. I feel like there were 18 important ideas in those last 2 pages. So just stop and think to yourself, what is an important idea from the part we just read? an important idea from the part we just read is okay, I don't know about you, but I had two that came to me. One was really from this page. And so, one important idea from the part we just read, I think, was this idea that you are most beautiful when you are most you. So, being yourself, who you truly are, that's the most beautiful thing there can be. And then I think the other important idea that I heard on this page is that we need all different types of beauty and all different types of lightness and dark. We need the light and the dark and everything in between. That's how things are strong and beautiful. So I'm going to pause and add those things to my list, and then I'll show you what I've got. Okay, so here are the two ideas I added to my list. Beauty is being true to yourself, and we need dark and light together. We can't have just one or the other. All right, let's read the last few pages. Together they make the world we know, light and dark, strong and beautiful. Solway rose the next morning, beaming. There would be no hiding anymore. She belonged out in the world, dark and beautiful, bright and strong. And if she ever needed a reminder of her brightness, she could look up at the sky on the darkest night to see for herself. Solway felt beautiful inside and out. I think that's the end. I'll just make sure. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to stop at the end of this page again where it says Solway felt beautiful inside and out, and just pause one more time. Do you think there are any other important ideas from these last few pages? Okay, and I think we kind of have this already, but I was thinking really an important idea from the part we just read is that you have to believe in yourself, right? Like when you believe in yourself and all the different parts of yourself, that's when you feel most beautiful. And that's when you can really, I think Luke Solway says, there would be no hiding anymore. She belonged out in the world, dark and beautiful, bright and strong. So believing in yourself is what makes you beautiful and strong. Okay, so I'm going to pause and write that down, and then I'm going to reread you the list, and I want you to think, what is the most important idea from this story? Like if this story was just trying to teach us one big lesson, what do you think it would be? Okay, so I'm going to reread you everything on the list. And again, what I want you to think about is, which of these ideas do you think is the most important idea in the book? Or in other words, if this book was trying to teach us one big lesson, what do you think it would be? And you can either choose one from this list, or if you have a different idea in your head, that's fine to go with that one too. And this is the one that you'll leave in the comment section at the end of this video. Okay, here we go. It can be really hard when you don't like how you are. There are many different ways of being beautiful. When people make one type of beauty too important, it leaves other types of beauty out. Beauty is being true to yourself. We need dark and light together. And believe in yourself. Which of those, or is there a different idea that you think is the most important? And then what is your reason for thinking that? What are the details from the story that make you think that's the most important idea? Okay, think that over. I'll put the sentence starters after the video. Type out your answer, and once you've typed out your thinking, then you'll be able to see what other people were thinking also. All right, thanks for reading this book with me. I think it was a really powerful one, and I'm very excited to see what you write.